Greetings. This is Christine Bundy on Indiana, Gibson County, and I'm not sure how long the delay is, so we'll see how this goes. So if you would, I did go ahead and I'm not sure, I put in the chat through OBS. I guess it's not carried over into let me move it, bring it over here as well so we can, let's see, well, maybe I can pop it in the chat over here. Again, this is Christine on Gibson County. Alright, so here's the presentation link. Alright. Oh, it caught up this time. Alright, so it'll have it in a second time, but that's fine. Alright, so we'll just keep right on going. First thing we want to do is take a moment and honor our Creator. Without our Creator, none of us would be here. So we'll take a moment to honor our Creator. All right, now I want to take a moment first and give an update on some of the information of what's going on Indiana after the storms from Friday evening. The reports are that there are 11 tornadoes touched down, 3 on Howard County. Hardest hit with power outages right now is Morgan and Johnson County, specifically Whiteland in Johnson County. There were 3 dead on Sullivan County and 2 on Owen and McCormick Creek State Park. There are over 10,000 plus homes without power currently. Morgan and Johnson are the heaviest hit, Shelby and Sullivan following as the next counties with the greatest power outages. We want to send everyone our love and prayers and start doing what we can do to start pulling together resources of supplies and materials to be able to help them with the cleanup process. So this is where the militia for the Indiana Assembly can be able to step up. This is where we need you people. Wake up. This is your time. All right. We send our love and prayers to all of those during this time. We need to keep moving forward. So let's go ahead. One more announcement. There will be no call for next week in observance of the Easter holiday. So no call next week for the Easter holiday, and I'll put a reminder at the end. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started with the presentation. Let me get things where I can get some visual going on here some way and I can minimize the camera. Minimize the camera for me. That way you have. Oh, did I just? Okay. That way, no point in needing so much of me on the screen. Okay, so let me bring this forward here. All right, so minimize a little more. This gets a little. Okay. All right, so we'll get things moving. The Bivens Declaration, this is a public meeting. Anyone in this meeting claiming any form of U.S. citizenship or employment with any federal agency is now for the next segment of this gathering. New member orientation class invited to either declare your presence and business here, or we ask you to leave the class at this time. I will repeat, if you are a U.S. citizen or an undeclared federal agent, please raise your hands or vacate our gathering. It's not that you're not able to be here. We're just asking you to present yourself as to who you are and not lie around in hiding. Okay, for the third and final time, this is notice that if you don't respond appropriately to this Bivens declaration immediately, you are made fully liable for your lack of disclosure, and any so-called evidence that you collect is tainted and inadmissible. Answering to a roll call or without announcing or declaring their presence. Okay, so I'm not seeing anyone posting what county they're on yet, so when you come into the call, go ahead and put in the comments what county you're on so that we can welcome you. Even if it is after the call, go ahead and still put your comments in, still put your what county you're on, and others can come back, and because if they're getting notifications, they'll get notified that a response was made or comment kind of thing, and that way y'all can start connecting with each other that way as well. Okay, so week 4, this is about committee-based organization, what it means, militia, and we'll be discussing the post office. So the previous training call, we went through the 4 pillars. This is a question on the final knowledge review: the General Assembly, Jural Assembly, International Business Assembly, and the Community Response Team. That's the Militia Assembly. And we went through we reviewed or discussed the points of order adopted by the Indiana Assembly, and then the participation agreement. And then once you're fully papered up is not just the 1779, it does include the 928 Common Carry Declaration, Declaration of Political Status. Then please print out that participation agreement and include, read it, read it out, autograph with your seal, keep the wet ink original for your files, and send a copy to myself, the coordinator, at the coordinator email address. So again, the 4 pillars: review, general business, militia, jural. Review committees. Here are the articles that go through a breakdown of the committees, so that you can get a better idea of which one supports what services. And then there is the more detailed litigation committee, because that is a key committee for to help support Indianians. The militia, that's the people. That's the community emergency response training, community emergency response teams that can go out into the field. And then we'll be discussing the purpose of how LRO accounts are supported. And then we're going to go into a brief training about, or more information about, the post office. And the link here also goes into more in depth about the post office that we're not going to be discussing this evening. So again, the General Assembly is public gatherings. We are on Zoom and YouTube. It's comprised of American state nationals, American state citizens, and vetted U.S. citizens that show interest in the Assembly. Most interstate business is done through the General Assembly. International Business Assembly, comprised of American state citizens voting on matters regarding international business. The Militia Assembly, building this assembly as you bring people from public to private. The majority of people are in the militia. Militia equals the people, unless too young or too old, etc. The Jural Assembly, by joining the State Jural Assembly, you're agreeing to serve as a juror and act in the capacity of a state citizen. This jury duty is the fundamental building block underlying the public and organic law of this country. All right, so we're a committee-based organization. Committees are groups of people coming together to work as a team. Committees have no special authority aside from the subject matter each committee is responsible for. Committees are where the work gets done. We are committee men and women. Committees are all equal. There is no one committee that has more perceived power than the other. They are all part of the whole, all working toward one goal. All committees are considered subcommittees under the General Assembly structure. Here's a quote from Anna. Be prepared. Our American assemblies don't operate as corporations, and they don't have a top-down structure with a CEO at the top of a pyramid. American state assemblies operate using a multiple committee structure to get things done, and the assembly chairman is a spokesperson, not a CEO. Again, Anna von Reitz. All committees are formed in the General Assembly. This gives all qualified participants the opportunity to join a committee. Any active participation that is to give you access to Assembly contacts, receive money on behalf of the Assembly, and or Assembly assets requires a background check and may include a finance check. Some committees will need to be vetted. That includes a background check and federation vetting, and the General Assembly will vote for those committee members. Most committees are comprised of American state nationals and American state citizens. Although dual loyalties and dual citizenships prohibit some from chairing committees, i.e. bar attorneys, insurance agents, but they are still able to participate. So what is a qualified participant? One who has completed their armoring up paperwork, is recorded and published, and can verify by producing the records completed all the additional notices, if applicable, and letters presented, and that additional notices, those are the cancel of voter registration, the revocation of election to pay payroll taxes, the if you were formerly in the military severance, if you hold any licenses, that sort of thing. Presented participation member agreement, presented completed background check, and one who has lived on Indiana for a year and a day. All committee men and women need to be vetted to this standard. We've learned that we need to give our committee men and women a strong foundation and understanding of what we are reconstructing. We have all been indoctrinated to varying degrees. By the very act of recording and publishing your status correction, we have purposely left behind the British territorial system and the municipal feudal system. So be mindful that we are not reconstructing the very thing that we're escaping from. We're no longer subjects and slaves, so we need to unlearn and deconstruct all of our previous held beliefs. They, governed by our consent alone, and they need us to believe they are true government, that they actually have any authority over us at all. In reality, we are their bosses. Think about that. It is a voluntary system. So review the article links below of the recommended committees and see which one you would prefer to join. Here is more detailed of each of the various committees, depending on the different pillar of the assembly. And then, of course, this article is more detailed for the litigation committee. All right, militia, seeking militia coordinators, and we'll go over a review of an area map and discuss what is the militia. So here is a breakdown of just a brief to section off where it's something a little bit more manageable, to break the state up into groups so we can start getting out there and start connecting. All right, so what is the militia really? The militia is guaranteed to us in the constitutions. It's not what the word militia has come to be associated with. Militia helps each county and state when there is an emergency that hits anywhere in Indiana. Militia involvement is required from anyone 21 to 45. If you are over 45 and still able and still want to participate, then you are more than welcome to. Voluntary militia training can start at 16. Think of it as the people coming together to protect and or defend during an emergency disaster. Land recording office accounts. Here is the link. Take accountability and ownership for your records and confirm your records. Agreed. LRO accounts help with two basic functions: helping the coordinators know how many people are on the land and soil, helping the coordinators and other assembly team leads keep communications with Indians across the state, helping the Federation offer services to those on the land and soil easier. You're free to publish your records on the LRO or the county, but an LRO account is necessary. In county, I mean count like County of Marion kind of thing. Okay, so, or if you go to another state, but a county recorder as a different, or if you were to record, publish at a library or advertise in a newspaper, that kind of thing. If you publish on the LRO, you don't need to worry about creating another account. If you published using another publishing method, present the already published documents to your assembly recorder to make a physical copy for the assembly's records, and the recorded publishing number already given is used within your LRO, and the documents will not be published to the LRO unless requested. Okay. The Post Office, U.S. Post Office, and USPS. They are not the same. Funny how everything else is like that, isn't it? Okay, so the Post Office is a branch of the military, i.e. Postmaster General. We, the people, have a lawful constitutional contract with the municipality for the post office, customs, all related services to ensure the mail is delivered securely to its destination. The municipal government services contract was the Holy See, of which the Pope is the ruler. The Vatican was created in 1929 and is the only lawful contract we have for municipal government services. Their jurisdiction was strictly within the District of Columbia. Why registered mail with stamps when we are mailing notices, letters, etc. to public officials? Stamps are lawful money backed by gold and keeps us in proper land jurisdiction. Meter mail is fraud. A $1 stamp on the back of a court recording ensures that $100,000 and guarantees it goes where it is intended to go and doesn't disappear, or the full force of the post office will rain down on those responsible. Your autograph written on a diagonal through the stamp in red ink, cancel it. A judge cannot ignore it. Registered mail is the original secured mail. Your package stays in a locked cage, safe or sealed container while transported. While not in transit, it is kept away from the other mail in a locked safe. Electronic and physical signatures at each post office facility show the chain of custody, so you know where the piece is every step of the way. Registered mail requires all seams to be sealed with opaque tape. Usually brown tape is another measure of security and stamped with red ink, postal date stamp. The recipient must sign for it before the package is handed over. An added green card return receipt is signed and dated stamped, and these are all proof officials have been served as your court of record. You can make a claim or request an investigation on registered mail insured up to $50,000. Tracking and delivery records are kept for 2 years. Okay, so the first United States Post Office established as a national public postal service under postal treaty with all the other member nations designated Philadelphia, Pennsylvania as our seat of government. And so it remains to this day, operated and owned by the United States of America, unincorporated. The United States of America has its own post office run in tandem with the U.S. Postal Service, while the U.S. Postal Service runs side by side with the municipal USPS. One post office, 2 postal services, and last time I counted 7 different hats for the United States Postmaster to wear, including the international and global offices. The United States of America, unincorporated, we fly the United States civil flag of peace and maintain the United States Post Office. You will notice that the Title IV flag flies at all U.S. post offices and all USPS service centers. You as a postmaster, Think about it. You handle the mail, buy, sell, trade, carry, and deliver mail all the time. Have the right and ability to send yourself anywhere the mail goes. You can read more about that in her article 1180 called Passports. All right, so here is an additional article that you can read further, article number 780. This will leave your head whirling. And then also article 2482 for the U.S. military. The federal government utilizes the zip code to prove that you reside in a federal district of the District of Columbia. This is why the IRS and other government agencies, state and federal, require a zip code when they assert jurisdiction by sending you a letter. They claim that this speeds the mail, but this is a sly and subtle trick. It's also prima facie evidence that you are a subject of Congress and a citizen of the District of Columbia who is resident in one of the several states. See this article by Richard McDonald. Let's go ahead and pull that one up. That was an important one. It's very short, but it is important. Let's go ahead and put this in here. You should see this. I'm not sure how the delay is. It's not too long. It should be picking up. Okay, so this says here, this is volume 1, number 6, zip code use invokes federal jurisdiction. Let me make this bigger. Use of the zip code is voluntary. See Domestic Mail Services Regulation, Section 122.32. You should also know that the Postal Service cannot discriminate against the non-use of the zip code. See Postal Reorganization Act, Section 403, Public Law 91-375. The federal government utilizes the zip code to prove that you reside in a federal district of the District of Columbia. This is why the IRS and other government agencies, state and federal, require a zip code when they assert jurisdiction by sending you a letter. They claim that this speeds up the mail, but this is the trick. It's also the prima facie evidence that you're subject to it. The receipt of mail with a zip code is one of the requirements for the IRS to have jurisdiction to send you notices. The government cannot bill a citizen of California because he is not within the purview of the municipal laws of the District of Columbia. In fact, the Internal Revenue Service has adopted the zip code areas as internal revenue districts. See the Federal Register, Volume 51, Number 53, Wednesday, March 19th, 1986. You must remember that the Postal Service is a private corporation, a quasi-governmental agency. It is no longer a full government agency. It is no longer a full government agency. It is like the Federal Reserve System, the Internal Revenue Service, and the United States Marshal Service. They are all outside the restrictions of the federal constitutions as private corporations. I plural constitutions, my bad. It's not that in the article. They're all powerful in their respective areas of responsibility to enforce collection for the federal debt. So if you're using a zip code, you're in effect saying openly and notoriously that you do not live in the state of California, but instead you're a resident in the California area of the District of Columbia, a federal district. There are some so-called patriot groups that I consider to be patriots for money. They advocate the use of Title 42 suits, which are for federal citizens only, send mail to you with a zip code and ask you to do things that place you within the municipal jurisdiction of the District of Columbia. Remember, these individuals may be agents of the government, or even worse, are advocating a one-world government by the use of the Social Security number and the zip code. So you must be aware of the movement towards a one-world government through annihilation or elimination of state citizens by use of the so-called 14th Amendment and its related laws. This movement can be halted by the efforts of everyone to return to the states of primary state citizens. By becoming a state citizen, not a citizen of the United States, you can get the federal government off your back and out of your billfold. Speaking for myself, I want the original Constitution for the United States of America back in force, as applied against the federal government, and the states restored to their original status as republics. So all you have to do is to study and determine your status, whether you are a slave and a second-class citizen, commonly referred to as a federal citizen, or a sovereign state citizen. That's an oxymoron, though. Example of California, you must decide. Zip code invokes federal jurisdiction. Okay. So we read through that. All right. So receiving your mail with a zip code is one of the requirements for the IRS to have jurisdiction to send you notices. The government cannot bill an Indiana citizen because he is not within the purview of the municipal laws of the District of Columbia. In fact, the Internal Revenue Service has adopted the zip code areas as internal revenue districts. See Federal Register, Volume 51, number 53 from 1986, Remedies. Okay, so you're going to want to get a post office box, or try getting general mail service at the post office. They're supposed to not discriminate, but most USPS locations enforce the internal revenue zones and don't honor that. This is why we use in care of before the house number and street, and why we enclose the zip code in brackets or write zip code exempt. Public Law 91-375, August 12, 1970, an act reorganized and abolished the Post Office Department and created the United States Postal Service, a corporation-like independent agency subcontractor authorized by the U.S. Government Services Corporation. Be it enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that this act may be cited as the Postal Reorganization Act. This was done by the corporations acting under color of law, not the constitutional government of the people. They had to leave a remedy to allow us to access the original post office so they could claim it was voluntary on your part. Okay, so God willing, by the next class, you have an opportunity to review recommended committees. Which committee would you like to be able to join and why? And go through, review the PowerPoint. Think of what self-governance means to you, and be ready to share your thoughts. Seeking armored up Indianians that have presented their corrected status, participation, member agreement, and background check to be committee members to support Indianians coming in, and how the committees support Indianians. Here are your resource links to get your main information. I want to thank everyone for taking the opportunity to listen to the recordings when you have an opportunity to. We want to remind everyone, let me stop this a moment. We want to take a moment, we want to remind everyone to send our love and prayers out to Morgan, Johnson, Shelby, Sullivan, Howard counties, right? Owen County, right? They've suffered greatly. If there are other counties that you know of but hasn't been able to have an opportunity to reach out, please let us know so we can get if nothing else, please send prayers and love. Okay? If you're not motivated to actually do things to come together as the militia for the assembly, as a community emergency response team, at least send your love and prayers to them. A reminder that to pay attention to the weather. The if you weren't affected by Friday evening storms, be grateful, but go forward and get things prepared. There's a possibility of more similar storms, if not more, coming in the week ahead. So we want to bear that in mind. And once you've taken care of what you need to protect yourself, then go out and help others. Okay, so and a reminder that next Sunday is Easter Sunday, so there will not be an assembly call, and I will send the message out for that reminder as well. So again, peace and love out to all those that have suffered physical damage, property damage, and the like. Please send them your love and prayers. If you do have supplies and materials that you have available that are ready that you could be able to send, email militia at the indianaassembly.org so we can compile a list of materials and supplies, and we can start seeing how we can coordinate getting that out there. We also would like to call out for those that have already have emergency response training, so that we need your support now. We need to be able to get you in at this point in time, so we can be able to help get you out into those areas and connect with as many as possible. So again, I want to wish you all peace and love. Have a great night. Thank you.